This is Kerry with Multicopter Warehouse, and today I've got Ryan Carter, one of our sales guys here, who's going to talk to you about how to get an LAANC authorization and then how to do a unlock with DJI. So he's going to talk about the different products and what you need to know. So I'm going to hand it over to Ryan. Take it away, Ryan. Oh, if you guys have any questions, use the question box, and we'll get to your questions as we can. But all right, Ryan, it's all yours, man.
All right, cool. Well, like Kerry said, this is our How to Unlock Your Drone and Controlled Airspace webinar. As some of you probably have experienced in the past, if you are in an authorized restricted zone, you're not able to fly. And so in order to do so, you'll have to follow these steps in order to properly unlock your drone in those airspaces. So let's get started. First thing you're going to do is request LAANC clearance. So what is LAANC? LAANC is going to be low altitude authorization and notification capability. So basically that is going to be notifying the local air traffic in your area of your flight plan, of the time that you plan to do that flight. And you can use apps such as Air Maps for Drones, Kittyhawk, in order to request this LAANC clearance. It's something that will take you about 2 minutes to actually input all your data, whether you're doing flying recreationally, flying with Part 107, and you're going to be asked to select the flight plan here. You'll select your radius. You could draw a flight plan as well. But when filling this out, the biggest thing is to be sure that you're not including any of the restricted zones in your flight plan. If you do the restricted zones, it will not be, you're not going to be able to take off, you're not going to be able to enter any of the restricted zones, so it will not be accepted. I do want to check in with everyone to see what kind of drones they're using, what kind of drones they're trying to unlock. So if you're able to put some input into the question bar there to see what drones you guys are all flying. There we go, a little of everything here. Now, after you submit that AirMap LAANC authorization, you will get a confirmation typically within a minute, and this is going to provide you with your confirmation number. And this is what you'll need to note for your unlock, because it will ask for documentation that you have cleared this step in order to unlock the drone. Now, the Geo Zones are breaking up into different colors here, as you can see. The red zones will be the restricted zones. These are going to be zones that you will not be able to fly in. You will not be able to get unlock inside these zones, but outside will be the authorization zones, where DJI wants you to be well aware of the hazards in the area and putting anyone or yourself in danger. So the blue zones will be the ones you will need to unlock and what we'll be focusing on today. Now, in terms of the warning zones, the enhanced and the warning zones, that'll be the orange and yellow zones. Now, you will be able to fly into these zones without unlocking, although DJI will notify you to just be cautious while flying, that there is probable air traffic in the area. And then the gray zones you see there that kind of face the direction of the runways are also going to be in the same boat, where you will get notified that you're in an altitude zone, that there could be air traffic in the area, and that you just need to fly with caution. Now, us here at Multicopter Warehouse, we are located right across the street from Centennial Airport, so we have to deal with this quite a bit. We are inside an authorization zone, so we have plenty of experience of unlocking all of our drones every time we do a test flight or just want to have some fun and pop up our drone. So to begin the Geo Zone unlocking process, after you have obtained the LAANC clearance, you're going to need to navigate to the DJI website, where you will head to the support tab and then fly safe. Now, when the fly safe page opens up, you will scroll down to the unlock a zone and custom unlock. Now, within this first step, it's going to ask for some basic information, including name, organization, if you are applying for an organization or for a client. It's also going to ask for the time that you're applying for. Now, if you plan on revisiting the same area and doing multiple flights within a time frame, make sure that you select all the dates that you will be planning on using this unlock, because it will go back to being locked once that time frame is up. So you want to select your type of drone, and then the biggest thing is going to be the flight controller serial number. Now, depending on the app you're using, you're going to find the flight controller serial number in a different spot, but for the most part, it's going to be in the menu on the camera view page, down at the very bottom, or with the Fly app, it'll be all the way off to the right side, and you'll find the About section for the drone. And you will see the flight controller serial number listed there, and we'll input it. As for the next steps here, you're going to need to select your flight area, just like you did with the air map. You will need to make sure that your area is not touching any of those authorization zones. You're going to want to make sure you set your max height for below the ceiling for which you are authorized to fly in. In our authorization zone here at Multi-Copter Warehouse, we have a clearance of 150 feet, and if we were to put 160 feet, it's going to get denied. So make sure that you're inputting all the correct numbers, making sure you're following all the laws and regulations, and the biggest thing being you don't have any of the authorized zone in your flight area. Just an example of what I was saying, if you do highlight some of the authorized zone in your flight area, it will get kicked back to you, and you will not be able to take off or get the unlock. Now, once you do send that unlock request through, you will get an instant verification that they have received it. And now, depending on the conditions of your request to unlock, it typically takes about 1 to 15 minutes. They do note that it will, if you don't hear back within a day, that you should reach out to contact them. But in our experiences here at Multi-Copter Warehouse, we have that kicked back to us within about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes every time that we do that. And that's going to be the same case for the LAANC clearance that you need to do before this. That will kick back to you within a minute or two. Now, the next step is going to be actually importing that unlock license into your drone. Now, this will also be dependent upon the drone that you're using and the app that you're using. It'll be found in different spots. So we'll start off here with the DJI Go 4, which is going to be for the Mavic Pro series, Phantom 4, the Trees 200 series, Spark, Mavic Air, Inspire. And so when you're going through the DJI Go 4 app, it is going to be on the same tab that you will find the flight controller serial number, although you will navigate into the unlocking license, and then it will pop up once that has been accepted. So until that FlySafe application is accepted, it will not pop up on here, but once it does, it will show up on your unlocking license within the About of the drone, in which you're able to import it and turn that on. It will ask you to please confirm responsibility for the flight. Now, it might ask you to input your phone number as well in case they need a quick way to contact you. But this is required to unlock the drone. Now, for the next one we have is going to be the DJI Fly app. And now, these are going to be for the two newer DJI consumer drones, the Mini and the Air 2. Now, same as you'll navigate to the menu within the camera view, go to the safety, and then unlock Geo Zone. Once you get into there, it will pop up once it's been accepted to import to the device and to trigger on. Now, for the DJI Pilot app, which is going to be used for the Mavic 2 Enterprise, Matrice 200, 210, 300, it's going to be actually on the main screen of the app. On the main screen on the top right, there will be a settings tab, which you can navigate to the no-fly zone unlocking application, where inside that you will find your unlocking certificates, which you're able to import into your device. Once that has been accepted and imported and you have taken full responsibility, you will be able to fly. Now, the area you'll be able to fly in will be restricted to the zone that you have unlocked. So once you hit your corners of that flight plan or the area that you unlocked, it's going to stop. Or once you try and go above the height that you had selected in your flight plan, it will stop. So something to note, make sure that you are inputting the proper data into that application so that you're able to do the mission that you need to do. Do we have any questions?
I'm handling questions in the question box. You can keep going. We're not going to send out the PowerPoint, but there will be a recording of this, and that will be sent out to everybody in an email. So you can watch for that to come here fairly soon today, as soon as it gets processed. So we'll get that out as quickly as possible. You have to be on site to unlock. No, we recommend that you do this in advance before going to the site so that you're all ready to go when you get there. There's no reason to do that on site. Please clarify the LAANC clearance website. I think you mean LAANC. In LAANC, you're going to use, as you said, Kittyhawk or AirMap apps to do that. So pretty simple procedure there. How is the procedure different if you're doing it before I arrive? Well, it's identical. There is no difference whether you do it in advance or do it on site. It's just recommended you do it in advance so it's all ready to go when you get there. So you enter the AirMap confirmation in the FlySafe site. Yes, you do. Actually, what we like to do is when we get the text to our phone with the LAANC authorization, do a screenshot of that and upload that along with your request. So that's usually the easiest and fastest way to make sure it gets approved. How accurate does the time need to be? Well, you need to be flying during the time that you say, and that's what the unlock will be for. If you say from 1 to 2 and you get there at 2:30, the unlock's not going to work. So you got to make sure that you give yourself enough time to get the job done and have yourself a big enough window to make sure it's all taken care of. Seems strange DJI doesn't use LAANC boundaries for unlocking. Funny thing, DJI is authorized to do LAANC authorizations, but they have not integrated it into the app yet. So that was something we were hoping would have been done already, but it still isn't. So it's still a two-step process. How does it work with the smart controller? Exactly the same way. Because on the smart controller, you're either using the Go4 app or the Pilot app. So exactly as Ryan described is how you would do it with a smart controller. Okay, there is no LAANC website. You do LAANC through an app like Kittyhawk or AirMap. So you're going to do your LAANC requests through an app, not a website. Confused about a custom unlock using AirMap as authorization to unlock. The primary issue is the authorization does not reach my controller. No, when you do a request through AirMap, you're going to get a text to your phone saying, or even in the app itself, that says you have been cleared for the authorization. That doesn't do anything at that point. You are now cleared with the FAA to go do that. Then you take that and go to the FlySafe website to have DJI unlock it, and that will then go to your controller. So it's a two-step process. Non-LAANC airport. If your airport does not support LAANC, then you need to go to FAAdronezone.faa.gov and do a manual request. If the mission is flown by drone deploy, is this necessary? Well, if you're flying in controlled airspace, it is necessary because you still need to unlock the aircraft. Do you have to have the professional license to do this? No. Hobbyists and 107s can all request LAANC authorization. There's no restriction that you have to be a 107. How do you operate an airport with no LAANC? Well, I just said that. You do your manual request through FAAdronezone.faa.gov. Okay, if you can't complete it within 48 hours, like with drone deploy or drone base, well, then you have to do a new request. When you do the request with DJI, you can have that for 3 days. You can get an unlock for 3 days, but your LAANC request is going to be good for whatever you specify in your request. So you want to make sure that you have the right window, or redo it when it's going to be good to go. Okay. Can you say again or spell LAANC website? There are no LAANC websites. You use Kittyhawk, the app, or AirMap, which is an app. You don't do LAANC requests through a website, you do it through an app. Can you address how to import the unlock license for the DJI Spark? Well, with the Spark, that uses which app does that use? Go4?
Go4, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, then you would use how he described it with Go4, just like you would with any of the other ones. The slides are not going to be available for download, but there will be a recording of this. So you will be given a link in an email here soon about where the recording is. How far in advance can you make a LAANC request? That's a good question. I'm not sure about the answer for that. I think it's like a week. I mean, you can go. They've changed it a few times. It used to be 24 hours, and I think it was 72 hours, but now I think it's longer than that. Can you amend a flight plan? You unlocked and then took off 1 hour later than expected, or need to extend the boundaries? I mean, you have to submit a new plan. Yeah, you can't. There's no way to amend it. It's there. You have to do a new one. Would this process be used if flying drones take real estate photos near Centennial Airport Zone? Okay, so this is exactly what this is for. So if you were going to take photos of our building right here, which is very near Centennial Airport, you would do a LAANC authorization and then the Geo unlock with DJI, and you could get cleared up to 150 feet where our building is. If you go across the street, across Fulton from where we're at, that is a Zerogrit. There is no authorizations there. You will not be able to get an authorization on the other side of Fulton because it's too close to the airport. So this is pretty much what this whole thing is for. What about zones in the mountains as it relates to altitude? Does AirMap adjust the max altitude based on the current ground elevation? No. Actually, Alan, that's a really good question. If you say 150 feet, what does it do when you climbed 150 feet? Well, I'm not exactly sure about that one. How do you know that you'll have to unlock via DJI.com before you get to the location? So you need to look it up. If you think there's any chance that you're going to be near a controlled airspace, then you need to look it up in advance. And you can do that on DJI's FlySafe page and just double check where the zones are and make sure that you're clear before, as you're planning your mission. You've been in places where it tells you need LAANC clearance 24 hours in advance. I've never seen that before. I don't know how you would identify that. I've never actually seen that. Okay, what is the difference between LAANC, AirMap, and the GO process? LAANC is an authorization through the FAA to fly in a particular area. AirMap and Kittyhawk are the apps that you use to get the LAANC authorization. Once you have LAANC authorization, then you go through DJI.com/flysafe to unlock your aircraft. And once you've got the email from them saying that it's been approved, then you can go into the Go app or the Fly app or the Pilot app, whichever you're using, and import that into your system. Is there a limit on a time limit window? I don't think there is. I mean, you can set a pretty broad range, but you cannot use LAANC authorization for non-daylight operations. So if you're doing a night mission, you cannot use LAANC. You would have to use FAA-dronezone.faa.gov and do a manual authorization. Will this unlock on a Mavic 2 Zoom? Yes, this is exactly for those types of aircraft. You have an Inspire 1. Inspire 1 uses the Go app, so any of the instructions that are relevant to the Go app will work on Inspire 1. You live near an international airport without LAANC. Recommendations on who I can contact. Well, you would start with FAA-dronezone.faa.gov and do a manual authorization, which would be forwarded to the airport manager. And that's the proper process. If you know someone there, like the airport manager, who can help facilitate that once they get that request, that would help. But the right process is to start on the Drone Zone site with a manual request. You understand the LAANC system, but I've never got custom authorization by doing the LAANC first. Authorization is approved by DJI for self-unlocking, but does not reach my controller. If you did the unlock through DJI.com/flysafe, and you had the correct flight controller serial number, and that's not the serial number on the aircraft that's underneath the battery, it's the flight controller one, and they go through it and they say it's approved, then that machine should be able to import the unlock to your controller. As long as your mobile device on your controller has internet access, this process should work. I've never seen it not work. Can you show the two-step process using AirMap on my phone? I mean, he kind of did show that. Once you're in AirMap, you plan a mission, and it will give you all those. It steps you through the process of planning your flight. You're going on vacation. I know that I generally get unlocks for 3 days. So when we do them here, we always do them for 3 days, and I've never had a problem asking for a 3-day unlock. You have an FAA COA for a non-LAANC airport. Why do I have to submit a custom unlock request? Okay, if you have a COA already, that's all you need to do to get an unlock from DJI. You don't need to then go through LAANC or anything else because you already have something that says that you're authorized to fly there. So in my case, I have a Class D wide area authorization. I can submit that. I can also submit a LAANC if I'm near a LAANC airport. I can If I had a COA, I could submit that. So whatever documentation you have that shows that you have authorization to fly there is what you can send in. M600, yep, same as the Go app. So same thing there. On the Fly app, yep, he went through that on how to do it on the Fly app. So which app is preferred, Kittyhawk or AirMap? This is Carrie. Personally, I prefer Kittyhawk. I try not to use AirMap, just personal preference. The recording will show all the slides. Yes, it will. If you get authorization to fly in a restricted zone, can you still unlock in DJI? Yeah, if you have authorization to fly somewhere, that is all you need to send to DJI to get your aircraft unlocked. Whether it's a military base or whatever, if you have some document that says that you're authorized to fly there, they will unlock it. If the mission is flown by drone deploy, is an unlock code required? Yes. If you're flying in controlled airspace, you need to unlock your aircraft. Drone deploy does not do that. You would need to unlock it using the appropriate app, Go app or Pilot app or whatever. And then once your machine is unlocked, then you use drone deploy to fly your mission. Can I fly in a green grid near a yellow and red? Well, I mean, you can fly in areas that are not restricted. So if your flight plan overlaps into a red, then you would need authorization for that red zone. So that's why
no blue. Red, you're not going to allow to get takeoff.
Well, in some in some cases, like there's DIA has red zones, and people have got authorizations to fly there. But it's a much bigger process. You're not going to do that through LAANC. You're going to do that through the manual process on FAA drone zone. On the other hand, here at Centennial, if you're in the red zone, they will not authorize it. Period. End of discussion. There's no one to call. They will not authorize it.
Right.
Is a firmware update sufficient? I mean, normally you need to make sure when it comes up and it says that your fly zone database needs to be updated, that's what you need to have updated to make sure that your zones match what your unlocks are going to be for. If an airport has LAANC that you need to fly in 0 feet, okay. So if you need to fly in a Zerogrit and it has LAANC, well, LAANC is not going to get you approval in Zerogrit. You need to go through the FAA dronezone.faa.gov and do a manual request. And then that has to be approved by the airport manager. Like I just said, at Denver International, there's a big hotel that was being constructed right in the red zone, and people I know did manage to get authorization to fly there. However, at Centennial Airport, which is right next to our office, you will never get permission to fly there. They are not granting it, period, under any circumstance. Does the approval take into consideration structures? No, the approval doesn't. Your request does. So if you need to be 1,000 feet to inspect a tower, then that is part of your request, not part of the approval with DJI. Is there any scenario where you can get a LAANC in a Zerogrit? No. In a Zerogrit, you have to do a manual request through FAA drone zone. Is LAANC for Part 107 pilots only? No, it's for everybody. Is there a better user interface with AirMaps versus Kittyhawk? Do you have a preference? I don't know that one is easier to use than the other. I've tried both. They seem almost identical to me. So I prefer Kittyhawk. It's just what I have on my machine. In Colorado, there's so many national, state, and local regs. None of these are in Geo Zones unless under FAA restriction. I mean, we're not talking about the rules on where you can and cannot take off and operate from, like in a state park. So a state park or a national park, you can't operate while you're standing on their property. That's not a Geo Zone. Because if I step outside of that park, I can fly over that park. So we're only talking about airspace when it comes to unlocking. Where will the recording be? You will be sent an email as soon as I have the recording online. Geofencing is a DJI exclusive authorization, yet other manufacturers do not have this control. I understand there's a Russian hack to bypass this. Yeah, I mean, there's services out there, no limit drones or something, where you can buy something to keep from having to do a DJI unlock, and whether that's legal or not, I would imagine, since other machines like the Autel Evo 2s don't have geofencing. But to me, this has never really been an issue. It takes us, I don't know, Ryan, in the past few months, and we were doing unlocks almost on a daily basis. Our average turnaround time from start to finish, 2 or 3 minutes.
Oh yeah, I think the longest we had was maybe 10 minutes, and that was an outlier for sure.
It takes, on average, between 15 and 30 seconds to get our LAANC authorization, and the unlock through DJI was averaging about 1.5 minutes to 3 minutes, with only one exception that went out like 10 minutes. So
right, that one.
The unlocking is almost a non-issue. Can you get an authorization 24/7? Yeah, the LAANC is an automated system, so that's a non-issue. That'll happen 24 hours. And the DJI unlock, they're available 24 hours a day. So going through this process at 2 in the morning to fly the next day or something is not a big deal. Is Part 107 required to use LAANC? No, I've already mentioned this a few times. This is for anybody, recreational or Part 107. You can use LAANC. If you have long-term FAA space authorization via FAA drone zone for certain non-LAANC airspace, how long can you get a DJI unlock for? Honestly, I don't know. I still think your unlocks are good for 3 days. I've never tried doing it longer. I mean, I have a 2 or 3 year Class D wide area, and yet I never have tried to do a DJI unlock for more than 3 days. What was the name of the drone you said that does not do geofencing? The Autel Evo 2. That's another product that we sell here. So it's a good machine, and there's no geofencing on it. So yeah, if you want to take off on the runway at DIA, it'll let you do it. You won't be legal unless you have authorization, but it'll let you do it. Okay, yes, there will be a recording of this. I will get it out as soon as it gets processed. And in Kittyhawk right now, I see no place to input an address. No, it'll just show your current location. You kind of have to like scroll out and scroll in. There's no, I don't think there's a search function to go find a location. So they're kind of, the apps feel like they're designed to do it on site, and yet sometimes you have to do it in advance. So it can be a little of a, kind of a little nasty thing. Is there a master unlock from DJI that would cover all authorizations? No, not that I've ever heard of. So I've never seen them grant a master unlock. There are certain situations where you can get an unlock for an area without having to do it every time, and that's called the QEP program, and that's for qualified entities. So if you are a police department, you can have your entire jurisdiction unlocked, and that could include both airspace as well as altitude restrictions if need be. So there's no unlocking all zones, but you can unlock a specific zone if you are a qualified entity. Do you pay a fee for Kittyhawk? No. Kittyhawk's free to use for this type of thing. Can the Kittyhawk app be installed on the smart controller? Honestly, I don't know. I don't think I've ever tried. I don't know, Ryan. I don't think you've ever tried either, have you?
No, but I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. It's probably easier to just use the phone app than it would be to navigate through the smart controller if they offered it.
Yeah,
wouldn't you say so?
I would just do it on my phone. I mean, I know my phone's going to work every time. In Kittyhawk app on iOS, at least you can select the airspace option at the bottom. You can then search an address and submit a request for a later date. Well, thanks, Dave. I wasn't ready to jump in on that. I didn't have my my phones in use at the moment, so I couldn't do anything. Does Kittyhawk have a web-based app? No. It's an iOS app and an Android app. So I don't know of any website that you can go to do a LAANC unlock. I know there's 4 or 5 apps out there right now that can all do LAANC. That can all do LAANC requests. And the only ones I've personally used are AirMap and Kittyhawk. So those are the ones we usually talk about. But I know there's a few others out there. I just haven't used them personally. So I think we covered all the bases here. That was a lot of questions there at the end. So hopefully we got to everything. I think I made sure I got to everybody who was asking a question. So again, yes, I will send out an email to everybody as soon as I get, it takes a little while for the video to process and then get it up on YouTube, and then the system will send you a link to that, as well as a certificate for attending will be as part of that email that goes out as well. So we will do our best to get that out as quickly as possible. Thank you, Ryan, for hosting this and putting this information together. And thank all you guys.
Thanks everyone for attending.
I really appreciate. Yeah, definitely appreciate your time. If you go to multicopterwarehouse.com, there's an event link at the top there that will show you the other upcoming webinars that we have. Next week, I believe it's on using ground control points when doing mapping. We've got stuff on the new DJI maintenance program that's coming, or that just got released for the higher end aircraft. So there is basically a webinar every Wednesday. So we will do our best we can to get stuff out there.
And everyone in the local Colorado area, we do have a new pilot course coming up, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, that I believe is also, is it listed on our event page? Or is that just through our Facebook?
I'm not sure. I think we need to double check on that.
Well, it's definitely on our Facebook for you guys to RSVP for. It is limited. We are limiting the amount of people we have. So you do want to RSVP if you plan on coming. But I think that's all we got.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And we appreciate you taking your time. And, be sure and hit us up if you have questions. We are going to try and do, maybe another video on this, kind of showing, real time how to go through the process and, help get everyone started. But I think once you've done this once or twice, then it's not so bad. Do we have a Part 107 refresher course? We don't. We recommend Remote Pilot 101, and you can use discount code MCW30 Myself, I've used that, and all the employees here use Remote Pilot 101. So we think it's the best training tool out there. And like there's two programs. There's the 107 and there's the Recurrent. And I think with our discount code, the Recurrent is like $60 or something. It gives you a lifetime membership. So every time you need to renew, you just log back in, get refreshed on the material, and go take your test.
We also had the current state of the Part 107 webinar that's on our YouTube page as well that you can reference.
Yeah. Question, can this be done on a Crystal Sky? I wouldn't recommend putting Kittyhawk on a Crystal Sky or a smart controller. Just have it on your phone. Your phone is always going to have internet access. So there's no reason to have it after the fact on a Crystal Sky or something. And we haven't tried installing those apps on a Crystal Sky or smart controller, so I can't answer whether it can be done. I personally just don't see the need when I have the app on my phone and I can just run through it really quickly. Having it on my controller doesn't really do me much good. I then need to pair that to my phone for internet access. That just seems like a bigger pain. So thanks again, everybody. I think that's the end of the questions, and we're going to go ahead and end this now.